You thought Raid was a fantasy strategy RPG? Nope, it's a resource management sim. Hello everyone, Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends. Thank you, Raid, for sponsoring this video. You guys are absolutely amazing. So are you guys as well. If you want to start a brand new Raid account, use the link down below, get some free champions. It's a great way to start Raid accounts, a great way to support the channel as well. And, I definitely appreciate you guys for being here for me as a content creator. So we're going to be talking about resource management in Raid, because honestly, I think that's probably the biggest reason a lot of people don't like to do fusions. Well, that and some time, to be fair, because yes, if you don't manage your resources, these fusions can be very difficult. But I have not quite literally just finished the fusion. In fact, if we take a look here at where I am at with the Spider Tournament, Spider Tournament was the last one I needed. I got the top reward in that, so I actually went a little further than I needed to because I wanted that chicken. I have gone further than I needed to here in the Gear Hunters event by a sizable amount as well. So I could have probably saved myself a couple hundred gems, at least 120 gems, and been done with the Cross Fusion. Here he is, Cross Fusion, 105 fragments. I even went over on the fragment part because it just made sense and it ended up happening to happen. I skipped one event, did everything else, and he's done. So let's talk about how you can manage your resources so that you can do stuff like this as well. So first of all, I got a little bit distracted as we were talking about this stuff, but as you can see, I've got 1,430 gems right now. And as I mentioned, I probably could have 1,550 if I didn't run a little extra spider. But I wanted to run a little extra spider because I had the resources. I decided the chicken was worth grabbing, and who knows, maybe I'll run a little bit more for the Gear Hunters event. Is the 5-star haste lift worth it to me? Probably not, especially considering I still need a bunch of extra points. So honestly, I'm probably going to move back into Minotaur for a little while because now I have some time and some resources. But I started this fusion with less than 1,000 gems, and I am finishing this fusion with more gems than I started because I went for targeted events. I went for targeted specific resources in doing the various challenges, these, tournaments as well, knowing which tournaments I wanted to push hard in, knowing which ones I could actually back off and not use, managing which resources I could, and making plans to make sure that I didn't go over budget anywhere. I'm also looking at my shard total right here, and yeah, I don't have a lot of sacreds left, but I still have some ancients, some voids, and some primals, although I'm not going to have any primals as of tomorrow because I'm filming this on Sunday. So on Monday, I'm going to be pulling those primal shards. But I've got those. I've got some fragment summons available. Again, I've got Yannicka here that's available. I've got Rian the Conjurers available. I almost have my Thea. I do have my Remnant summon here if I need more points in any way, shape, or form during one of these events. It's managing these resources and knowing when to use them and when not to use them that can help you do these fusions, win these tournaments, do more on CVC, make sure that you have silver, because you can see I'm done with the fusion. I've done the gear enhancement, in fact, too. You can actually see here, I have finished the gear enhancement event here. I might end up finishing all of this. In fact, I probably will because I tend to like to build champions when I get something out of it as well. And rolling up that gear, well, that still have 40 million silver. And if I finish that, I might still have 35 million silver. I might also only have 30 million silver because you never know with gear. But still, I've got plenty of silver because I've managed my resources properly. I have focused on doing the things I needed to do to get everything done. And let's talk about a little bit about how I managed to do that. So one of the things I like to do for champion training is I like to have things available for chickens. So as I level up champions, as I do my dailies, well, I've got this guy, I can make him a 2-star, make that a 2-star, make that a 2-star, and then I can make these 2 stars, 3 stars with these 2-star chickens I've just created. And then these become 3-star chickens that I can then make a 4-star, and then I can make the 4 stars into a 5-star, and so on. So as the chickens kind of migrate down, that's a bunch of fairly free champion training points I can get whenever a champion training event starts. So I have those available, plus I slowly but surely build up my chickens. As you can see, I've got a 3-star chicken, a couple of 5-star, 4-star chickens, and 5-star chickens as well. So I've got a couple champions ready to go. And in fact, with this person who's a soon to be 5-star chicken, I'm almost ready to make another 6-star on this account. So I could certainly make one of these champions a 6-star, or maybe I might train up somebody else, or I might have somebody in the vault that deserves to move on to a 6-star on this account to get me forward just a little bit further. I also am pretty picky about when I'm using my brews. I don't use them willy-nilly. I use them for champion training events, and so I'm building them up. And I like to be at this 200-ish frame for most of these. I like to be a little higher with the voids, because oftentimes the voids, when I'm doing those fusions where I have to level up a void champion, I like to use those brews rather than running a ton of campaign for the epics to get the epics from 4-star to 5-star. Doesn't mean I'm not going to run campaign entirely for them, because campaign has some other advantages as well. You know, I like to have those voids available when I need them, so it's nice to keep more than the normal number of voids and a little less of all the other ones as well. Plus, you know, I'm building up some barrels as well if I need to use the barrels. Generally, I will not use a barrel on anything less than a 5-star champion, but if I'm low on brews, I might drop a barrel into a 5-star champion just to save 50 brews or whatever it's going to be. And if I'm 6-starring somebody and I don't really need the masteries, well, then they're going to get a barrel right away and they're going to go from level 1 to level 60. A good resource to use, a good resource to have. One of the best ways to get some of these Deck of Fate things done is, of course, to have these soul stones available. So I avoid pulling my immortal soul stones and my eternal soul stones when I get them. Now, I rarely get an eternal soul stone on this account, but when I get them, I avoid pulling them. I also avoid using this currency up here unless there's something that I really, really want in the soul merchant to buy. Like, for example, I saved up for this Mithrala 3-star soul right here. In fact, I have to put that on her, so I'm going to go do that right now. And why did I want a 3-star soul in Mithrala? Well, because I use her in content where that soul is going to be very, very effective. She's going to be in my hard faction wars, and souls are very important for hard faction wars. But she's also in my Phantom Shogun team, and that is very, very soul dependent as well. So having her with a 1-star higher soul is very, very good. And then, you know, it doesn't hurt to have an Iron Twins, as well as I regularly use her in other places as well. Plus a 3-star soul gets me the next level up of Brimstone, which means it's going to land a lot more consistently on somebody that has a lot of accuracy and is constantly landing that debuff. But having this stuff available to spend is great. The mortals, I'm kind of iffy on the mortals sometimes. I think saving these up is great for later game accounts when you have all the awakens you're looking for. And by the ones you're looking for, I'm saying at least you have a 2-star or a 3-star and a lot of the champions you're using regularly. That's important. If you don't have some kind of blessing on most of those champions that you are regularly using, I think pulling these mortals pretty regularly actually makes a lot of sense, but not necessarily like instantly when you get them. Maybe just save them up for a personal reward CVC. That means you're pulling them at least once every month. And if an event comes up between then that is going to be good for you to pull those Mortal Soul Stones instead, such as say a Deck of Fate or some other event that might be useful with Soul Stones, well then you've got the mortals that are available for you. Mortals don't give you a lot of extra rewards though. And even if they are on a 2x, the odds are not great. So yes, it's kind of nice to get that 2x as your later game account. But when I'm looking for just 2 and 3-star souls, or heck, if I'm looking to build an account where I don't have some of these champions at 5 stars or 6 stars because I'm just trying to progress, well, you know what? I don't need that 5 and 6-star boosted rate because it's not necessarily going to help me as much as that really good 4-star soul. And if the champion I haven't pulled yet because it's sitting there waiting for me to pull it is doing me no good compared to the 1-star or 2-star soul of that champion I just pulled that I have on my account. Managing the forge is another great way to make sure that you constantly have silver, you constantly have good gear, and just managing your charms can be very good as well. So early on, I think it's perfectly fine to use these rank and rarity charms on perception gear, because perception gear is absolutely amazing and it's going to really impact your count. Now that I'm finally moving to a spot where perception gear is very good, but not necessarily the end game gear that I need, and I'm instead now going for, say, some of this lethal gear. Well, now I'm saving up this lethal gear, farming up some of these things as much as possible, making sure I have as much lethal gear to forge. And then during some CVCs, I will use these charms to make sure I can forge what I need to forge. In fact, you'll see here, I'm actually kind of low on chest plate charms because I use a lot of chest plate charms to farm the chest plates. And honestly, I need to stop doing that for a little while, because one of these days I'm going to get a mission where I'm going to have to forge chests with a chest plate charm. And that could be problematic if I only have a few of those chest plate charms. So I probably need to actually slow down on using those and possibly even farm a few of them up by doing things like tag arena here and going, and we go here, the bazaar, there's the type charm here. In fact, let's just go buy those as well. And yeah, that's one of the ways you can farm those things. Having some of these available for you, being able to do tag arena that lets you get the extra energy, that lets you get this extra ancient shard, lets you get some extra brews, lets you get the substats, and the type charms can be good. You know, these accessories are not horrible if you decide you want to go for them. Accessories are very difficult to deal with, and the 4 stars are kind of trash, so I much prefer to go for this one if I'm going to be farming these things. If you're in silver, grabbing this void shard is not too horrible. If you're in gold, the sacred shard is very, very good to grab, and legendary tome. Who doesn't need more legendary tomes? And that's one of the things we're talking about as well. Legendary tomes are great to stock up on. Any tomes are great to stock up on. Make sure you're using them wisely. Make sure you're using them when you're going to get rewards, or in some cases, if you're booking a champion outside of when you might get rewards for booking that champion, at least make sure it's a champion that is going to be super impactful that you don't want to wait on. Just got Lydia, and it's not champion training, but you just pulled her because it was a champion chase. Well, that's great. That's a perfectly fine time to book a Lydia, because Lydia is going to transform your account. On the other hand, maybe you pulled a really good arena nuker and you're looking forward to booking that arena nuker. Well, they can probably wait, you know, half a week for you to book them when you're going to get champion training points for them, or you get CVC points for them, or sometimes both. There are plenty of free resources in Cursed City and Doom Tower for you. Don't take them for granted. Make sure you're doing your Doom Tower. Make sure you're doing your Cursed City. If you're struggling with Doom Tower and you just want to put it on auto, that's fine. Go back to normal, climb up a little further on normal, and get those normal rewards. Those normal rewards, especially for a free-to-play account, are nothing to sneeze at. They're free energy on the day, they are free brews, they are free chickens, sometimes they're free shards, and oftentimes they are free books. That is all free extra stuff. You don't have to spend anything for it. You just have to do your Doom Tower. Even once Doom Tower rotation is done, you've climbed as hard as you can, you've climbed as high as you can, and you're farming whatever you're going to be farming. Make sure you're farming it daily to use those silver keys. Just because the set isn't great doesn't mean it's not still valuable. We were in the Forge a little bit earlier. One of the things the Forge can do for you is the Forge is free silver. So forging some of those pieces of gear, if you're just going to sell all of them, that's fine. That's free silver. It's also free points during a CVC. So you forge during that CVC, you get that free silver, you get a bunch of CVC points as well, and you bring your team to victory in a CVC that you might have lost otherwise. You get yourself to another tier, you get the right personal rewards. It's win, win, win. And even if you end up not winning CVC for whatever reason, it's not like you took these resources and threw them away. You're still getting the silver and or possibly really good gear from forging gear from Doom Tower. Cursed City, that's the only way you're going to get that Merciless gear and Supersonic gear. Both sets are really, really good in the game. You need to start farming some Cursed City. You need to get to the spots where you can get those accessories, because there's not a lot of places you can get accessories. And if you're stuck at a particular floor, that's fine. Turn around, go a different direction. Go back to normal if you're stuck on hard. Normal rewards are still pretty solid. Making sure you're clearing normal, doing whatever you can on hard, that is going to make sure that you get the most out of your account and that you are going to get the most resources and rewards you possibly can. One of the best ways to manage your resources is to run Minotaur and level up your champions in Minotaur. As you can see here, this is what I have been doing. These are my last 4 6-stars. They're all really good champions. Most of them are still working on masteries. In fact, I think all of them are still working on masteries. But even if some of them are done with masteries, leveling them up just a little bit in Minotaur with these other champions is not a horrible thing to do. Another way to level up some of these champions is Magnar. Once he is done here, I might pull him out and use him as my campaign farmer for some of the campaign running, and therefore I can get experience with all 4 of my campaign champions as I finish up with a nuker. I love to do that with nukers because nukers you can farm, especially just if you're farming brutal campaign. It's not that hard to have any sort of arena-ish nuker clear the waves and generally survive to continue to clear the waves and run a bunch of chickens up. And they don't even have to be a total max level. As long as they're built fairly well for damage, they will do the job just fine. And campaign's another one that is certainly worth highlighting. Campaign is one of these ones where eventually you will stop running a ton of campaign. Why? Because you will find ways to level up chickens that don't involve running campaign, and they often will give you more bang for your buck for your energy in doing the things that you want to do. Such, for example, as running a Sand Devil team where you can level up 3 chickens while also running Sand Devil. Well, that's a great way to get whatever the Sand Devil rewards are going to be, as well as, getting all that extra champions leveled up and ready for you to go. Once you can start doing that, it's generally a better use of your energy. Well, if you're an endgame player and you don't want to waste a bunch of energy, but you want to make sure you're getting in your campaign battles for that monthly quest, drop it down to normal. You lose out on some energy or some experience per run, but the end result is you're maybe costing yourself maybe 20% more energy, but you're getting double the runs in for campaign for leveling up champions, and you're saving yourself a ton of energy at only spending 4 per run instead of 8. And that adds up when you're an endgame account trying to save money, cut corners, and do the best with your energy. That's also why I generally recommend to not bother running Nightmare Campaign. I certainly could, on this account even, I could run Nightmare Campaign without too much of a problem. I'm pretty sure my Alice would be able to do it without really struggling, but running it is going to cost me in not getting mystery shards, which means I won't have those extra mystery shards for things like summon rushes, which is nice to have. But also, you're going to cost yourself a little extra energy by doing daily nightmare runs that you don't necessarily have to do. At 16 versus 8, we're talking another 50 energy approximately that you're using if you have to run 7 of these stages. Possibly more if you have to run a boss, although I guess technically less because you're running less energy into the boss. But still, that's a bunch of energy that's getting you, a few extra chickens that on an endgame account you may not even need, whereas you'd much rather go all the way down to normal, save yourself a ton of energy, and oh darn, if I have to run it a couple of extra times to make sure I get to that level 500 of campaign runs, that's fine. That doesn't hurt on an endgame account as much as you might think, because on an endgame account, you're generally going to have more energy to spare because you can run the better teams faster for the other content. But on my free to play, I'm going to stick on Brutal. Brutal's great. I get to run up some champions pretty quickly. In fact, quite often, what I will do for my dailies is I will run 5 double battles of stage 3 with 2-star champions and make myself some 3-star chickens so that I build them up for a champion training event, and if I end up with the boss one, well, then maybe I'll look and see the champions that I need to kind of finish leveling up and throw them in the boss stage for, basically 2 double runs, use a little extra energy to do 2 double runs, but not enough to be a big deal. And, levels up a couple of champions that otherwise I might have to level up in other content or waste some brews on. Why waste the brews when I'm going to be running it anyway? Might as well just, get that experience in the champions that need it. Finally, there's always the question of when is the best time to run any of these dungeons. And in general, the best time to run any dungeon is when a set that you want is on rate up in that particular dungeon. So if Ice Golem has reflex gear, or cursed gear on rate up, or provoke gear on rate up, then that seems like a very, very good time to run Ice Golem. Dragon has increased speed. That sounds great. If you're looking for lifesteal for whatever reason, then Dragon for lifesteal, not a bad option as well. Fire Knight, Savage, regeneration, even crit damage is not horrible. I probably wouldn't run it specifically for crit damage. Stun gear can be very, very helpful as well. So those are great times to run them. Spider is not bad to run if you just need some silver, or you know you need accessories, or if there's nothing else going on. Running some Spider by default when there's nothing else interesting going on is not the worst option either. If you're really, really worried about a particular faction's accessories, well, that's not a bad time to run it when they have the rate up on that particular faction accessories too. But generally, that's not what I find is the best time to run Spider. And when we have an event dungeon, well, there's never a bad time to run the event dungeon unless you are trying to get event points for a specific event, then obviously run that particular dungeon. Meanwhile, the potion dungeons, if you're doing Clan Boss Daily and you're doing Doom Tower, you'll find you don't need to run these potion dungeons too often, but you will every once in a while, because especially if you are training a bunch of champions, you're going to run out of arcane potions, usually specifically, but quite often you'll find you just don't quite have enough because maybe you pulled a bunch of really good Void champions after a Void 2X, so you need to run the Void Keep. So just keep in mind when you need to run those, and run them sparingly. Know what you're looking for and how many potions you need for whatever else. You don't need to spend a bunch of energy in one and just run it so you never have to worry about it again. You certainly could take that approach, but honestly, most people don't need to do that. I'm going to be running a bunch of these soon for the Ramontu missions because for some reason the Ramontu missions want me to run these dungeons. But that's fine. I'll get a chance to stock up a little bit there and do some other quest that's going to be interesting. And that's really kind of the best way to manage your resources, is find the things that are going to get you rewards and do those while also getting other rewards that are going to help you as well. Need to get some Savage gear, 2x Savage, and a Fire Knight tournament? That sounds like a great time to move into Fire Knight for a little while. And finally, we have the Demon Lord. Probably the most important thing to do daily on your account. If you do nothing else because you're not playing a lot of raid, you really should log in and run your top 1 or 2 Demon Lord keys. Make sure you get the top of the whatever highest chest you possibly can, preferably the Ultra Nightmare and then the Nightmare chest if you can, because that's going to keep you in the shards. That's going to keep you with the books. That's going to also keep you full of potions so you don't have to run the other keeps too often. If you can't, you don't have time for whatever reason, that's fine. If you can manage to, on average, run 3 keys a day, possibly a 4th, that is a great way to manage your account without spending too much time in the game. If you can do all 4 of the keys daily, that's even better, but not everyone can do that because not everyone can play more than once a day or maybe twice a day. They just got to poke in twice a day, see what they can do, and once they're done, it's all over. That is one of the best ways to get good resources. It's also a great place to get gems. Believe it or not, you get a ton of gems from the Demon Lord as well. You get some nice gear, possibly, at least from Ultra Nightmare. Again, the only way to get sacred shards, best way to get void shards, best way to farm shards in general. But you're also getting gems, you're also getting potions, lots of really good resources here from the Demon Lord for honestly very little time if you're finally able to just 1 key quick battle it. But there you go. Raid is a resource management game. You're managing your energy, you're managing your gems, you're managing your shards, you're managing your other resources. And yes, there is a lot of RNG involved in it, but the RNG isn't going to hurt you if you manage your account well enough to be able to be flexible and manage what your resources and expectations are at any particular time. So managing your gems and your energy means that you're eventually going to grow in those gems, because for the most part, you can play the game, do the dungeons, do the events, and not go overboard and lose a ton of gems farming something you don't need to. And sometimes you decide it's worth investing those extra gems. If I am short on Savage gear and there's a Fire Knight tournament that's up right now, I might decide to go hard into Fire Knight to make sure I get the absolute best gear I possibly can, and I might start spending some of those gems. But if I am at a point where I have the 1,430 gems that I've got right now, for example, I have that luxury. I have the luxury right now to dump 150 or probably 400 of those gems into Minotaur to level up those champions in Minotaur and then level up the next one. I've got the Xenomorph. I want to build the Xenomorph. Well, I got to start in Minotaur, and that's a great place for me to start and a great place for me to be working on them. Throw those gems at them, level them up with some other champions, watch those champions shine and flourish. And once I'm done, I'm finished with the investment, and I still haven't gone overboard and spent more resources than I need to, and I'll still be ready for the next fusion. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what are your tips and tricks? What do you do to manage your resources? What do you do to save up? Or are you, one of the spenders that just kind of spends so you don't have to worry about managing that often? Even then, spenders like to manage their resources because you don't like just blowing money. So, you're still going to manage those resources carefully. Managing your gems, managing your energy will give you what you need to be able to complete more and more content, and honestly, to participate in some of the cool free champion giveaways, because you'll have the resources once these free champion events show up, because you'll have been saving your gems, saving your energy, saving your shards, and you can get your fusions, but you can also get your Deck of Fate champs, you can get your Titan event champs, you can get your path free champs as well, and all it takes is a little bit of resource management. So let me know what you thought of the video as well. I appreciate you all. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. We are on a roll here on the channel, and it is all because you guys are absolutely amazing. Much love, everyone, and until the next video, I am Bront, CatHerder.